Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Suresh. I wish to extend a warm welcome to today's webinar, Coping with COVID-19 People Aspects. This is the fifth and the final part of the CwC webinar series that started on 16th May. I would like to thank you all for joining this webinar on a weekend. We are extremely happy with the support we have received so far, with most of you making it for all the webinars. Questions that came up during the technology aspects webinar were compiled, answered, and mails were sent to the respective participants as a support to our webinar registrants. We have been uploading the webinar recordings on our YouTube channel, and the same have received good number of views, encouraging us further. Let's have a quick look at the infographics of last webinar. The feedback continues to be exceptional, with 93% of them saying it was very good or excellent. Some said overall superb session, would like to share with my employees for work from home security. There were a good number of participants from across the globe, with 23% of them attending from outside India, and more than 70% of the attendees participated in the 3 polls that were held during the webinar. New concepts like remote proctoring, robotics, process automation were discussed in the webinar. For today's webinar, we have our Managing Director and Principal Consultant, Dr. Murali, bringing to the participants an interesting presentation on how the people strength can help organizations cope with the impact of COVID-19. To celebrate the theme, people aspects, we will have the people behind MaGC present our success stories led by Ashok Rao and Praveena. I'm sure you will find the presentation by Dr. Murali and the experience sharing by Maxians an interesting finale to the series. MaGC comes with over 2 decades of management consulting experience, having strengths in government and corporate policy consulting, business process advisory, and training. You may visit our website www.magc.in to know more about us. I wish to bring to your notice certain features and rules of the game. This being a webinar, the participants will be kept in silent mode with the microphone muted throughout the presentation. To make the webinar interactive, we'll be holding a few polls and will take up your questions towards the end of the session. The instructions for the polls will be shared at the appropriate time. Please type your questions in the Q&A box shown on your screen. Do not use your chat box for this. Thanking you all once again. Over to you, Dr. Murali.
Thank you, Suresh, and welcome. Thanks for your feedback, which we have been enjoying. And every time we get a feedback, we incorporate and try to improve it. So that it has been an extremely participatory session, though we have not been directly talking to each other. Today, our intention is to bring to light how the Wisdom Boss, along with his aligned team, is capable of handling people. So we have seen what needs to be done, how it needs to be done during our sessions on policy, process, and technology. So first we began with what is to be done. I'm going to give a summary of it. In brief, we understood what is to be done, and then how is to be done, the process and technology part. But then the most important, who is to do it? Invariably, people who are available try to fill the gap. But post-COVID, is that going to happen, or should there be any change in the way we need to think? So when we get to people aspects, ultimately, what do we want our people to do? We want our people to deliver. And while delivering, such guys should have dependability and linkages or connectivity. Look at this. These 2 languages are normally not used with regard to, very generically used, but we are stressing that a person should be highly dependable and the person should be completely linked, both heart to heart and head to head, apart from that through technology. Otherwise, post-COVID scenario, it is extremely difficult to handle. Therefore, getting back, the COVID hit organization, we saw them using policy, process, and technology, and we saw that technology and process did the integration process of all these 4 elements. And now what happens? There is a big question how this is to be done. Here I would love to define leadership, which is the key. Earlier, the leadership was always at the top. and people who have been following our webinars have understood that the organization structure is no more going to be traditional. The tree structure will change over a period of time, and we are going to have a circular structure. When you are going to have circular structure, your leadership is going to not matter in the center, but every place. Therefore, leadership is known when ordinary people face extraordinary situation. The situation today is extraordinary, and for years to come, we are going to have extraordinary situation. So today, when we are discussing all this, as Mr. Suresh was saying, we are going to also cover some of the success stories that we have been able to do. Of course, most of them pre-COVID. During and post-COVID, we have already started doing a lot of work, but they are yet to be documented. So let's do a very, very fast recap of what has happened the last 4 weeks. COVID organization, the Wisdom Boss and Aligned team understood that what will immediately change is workplace, workflow, and work culture. Workplace, workflow, work culture, irrespective of the size of organization, is going to change. And how is it that we need to react? We need to react with clarity, because there is going to be a change, and immediately what we need to address is the cash flow. And how does the Wisdom Boss do it? He understands that he has to do it through the 3PT: policy, process, people, and technology. Therefore, he takes a policy and he understands what needs to be done through policy impact analysis. We saw how the policy impact analysis was done. Then he knows he has to switch on to the process. And then what did he do? He did a proximity analysis and process change matrix, by which are all the immediate jobs to be addressed in terms of process change, and how he has to plan the change in the process. We discussed the matrix, and so he tried to address the process. Then he had to address technology, because process and technology need to be addressed. So what did he do? He did a technology impact assessment matrix, understood based on the process and policy changes how to tackle the technological changes, and he started addressing it. While doing though, he understood the key factors of clarity, simplicity, agility, and so on, and extremely good project management. And what was he trying to do? He was trying to build this capital, which is based on trust, honesty, integrity, and simplicity. He knew that all these are interconnected, and therefore he is able to bring onto table what is called as values-based management, which is the only way he can exist in future. This is what we saw, and today we are going to look at people-related aspects. Now, in every area we saw the impact analysis. Today we will come to the impact of the changes on people. We reserved people to the last, because whatever changes you make, whether it be policy, whether it be process, whether it be technology, you completely change. You want to go do a different product, you do a different market, you are following a different strategy. Ultimately, it boils down to people. So the next question we get is, how do we address people? Can we do a human resource impact analysis? This becomes the next question. So the human resource impact analysis has two dimensions. One is the internal dimension, one is the external dimension. We look at them. So internally, COVID and post-COVID times, we have to start with the physical health of a person. Anybody who is physically unfit, who is prone to certain diseases, who is prone to certain things, people will be careful. They have to be taken care. That's a different element from the organizational perspective. Second is the mental health. Mental health is required because we are going to see, because people could have different type of thinking. Normally people don't address these issues. They simply look at the CV, which is two-dimensional, which invariably is extremely well-cooked document. And then when we get to the interview, we read them open. So mental health is important. And third one is the attitude of the person. People have been talking a lot about attitude, And as of today, my experience, I would say my limited experience, shows that the attitude that organizations look for is attitude only towards the work. This is wrong. That is the reason why people invariably land up selecting wrong guys. Therefore, you need to look at attitude relating to life, attitude relating to work, attitude relating to leisure, and attitude relating to technology. If these four are not balanced in people, you are not getting a person with the right attitude. This is the truth. Therefore, in HR impact analysis, we need to look at the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and attitudinal aspect. Having done that, how do we address external issues? There are two aspects to external. One is called the connect, another one is called the adjustment. Very interesting. Connect is a person can be extremely productive, but he will not connect to people. He might have most of the issues what we have taken up, physical, mental, and attitudinal. He may be okay, but he cannot connect with outside people. There's a lot of problem. So this connectivity, as the icon will show you, it is the connectivity of people who are outside. Internally, over a period of time, they could become okay, but they still may have problem connecting to outside people. The second one is adjustment. Adjustment is not adjusting. Please, adjustment is not adjusting I'm talking about. Adjustment is how people will change according to environment. The reason we have put it as adjustment is it is up to a person to change your toggle and adjust yourself to the changing markets. The change is going to be extremely fast. Last 4 months, we have been lying literally idle because we are freezing ourselves in certain three-dimensional thing which doesn't change much, which is almost sort of fixed for many people. Post-COVID, all the three dimensions, X, Y, and Z axis are going to change. And one has to undergo a very, very, very fast adjustment phase. Please, that is extremely important. That is why, of course, both internal and external are extremely well connected. So when we are trying to do an impact analysis, until now, we could put them in a very clear metrics because it's all non-human. But now, when we come to human beings, it may be tricks and not metrics. So you need to be extremely careful. How does it affect the individuality of people, their contribution, etc., affects an organization at three levels: the individual level, and center is the organization, and also environmental. Individual, therefore, when you are trying to find the suitability of the person, health, working conditions, engagement, and stability are the four things that both the organization and this guy will look for. Anybody who is looking for the job, it will be function of, there could be many jobs which say, have you got your COVID test done? Annually, have you taken your shots? All this is going to be, and what is your physical health? Have you had any ailment, right? Similarly, work conditions. These are all the work conditions. Are you prepared to join us? These are all the work conditions. Are you capable of that? I also expect some agencies, HR agencies will come, whose job is to check such conditions of people and certify. Please don't take this as exaggerations. We are going to see them. Already, I believe in some parts of the world, the HR agencies have completely changed their dimensions. And what is going to be the engagement? As we have discussed earlier, one person could have multiple engagements. And somebody asked me in one of the earlier webinars as to, is it not legally very difficult? It is going to be very difficult. So this engagement aspect is very, very important. And then stability for both the individual and for the organization. Does this arrangement give stability? Are the questions at the individual level? Things will have to be addressed. I'm trying to go like a checklist, so that all of us understand what we need to be prepared post-COVID. The second one is, okay, now we come to the organization. Are you going to exist? My first question to be asked is, are you going to exist in three dimensions as an office? Okay, if you are going to exist, what is the workspace? How are we going to arrange social distancing within the office? How are we going to provide minimum health and safety conditions? So these three things which are on the left top are extremely important for you to provide job. People are going to ask, in my office when I join, am I sure that I'll be in social distancing? Okay. Norms are being developed, different countries, different work associations like engineers association, all of these guys have started working on that. So these are all going to be new norms. You know, all the policy, process, technology changes is going to affect how the people are going to sit and work. So these three are getting affected. The other three, relevance. Is this person relevant for me? Or can I get it done? Or can I get it outsourced? Or can a machine do? So how relevant is that person to that organization will be the link between the organization and the person. 100%. Lot of sub-staff may face problem, but they may be required by another set of guys who will be running sub-staff services and say, okay, I will send you a guy who every day at 3 p.m. will come and then do your banking work. That's all. You need not have one person for that. Somebody will say, I will give you accounting services. So already it is happening, but all the more. So relevance is going to be one. I'll come to innovation later. Sustainability. Every act you are going to do, your people are not going to engage people or services if it is not going to be sustainable. What is sustainable? Not viable now, but viable in the future also. Will it help me in the future also? That is sustainability. Innovation. Repeating what somebody has been doing all the time. I am a finance manager with 10 years experience. Sorry, sir, I'm not bothered. This is what I want you to do. Can you deliver? I am so and so. I'm an architect with it. Sorry, I want this to be done. Can you deliver? So innovation and way you are going to problem solve is going to be the point of contact between individual and organization. So that is the second ring of organization. Third, environment, which individual and the organization together will be influenced by, of course, government policies, how the economy is functioning, how the technological things are changing. Technology change. There is so much fight going on between two sets of people. Should 5G be there or should not be there? So many studies saying 5G was first introduced in Wuhan. That is the problem. Another set says, no, we have done all this along with Wuhan. Few more places also done. So no problem. So, and we don't know how the technology is going to change. Technology is changing. 3D printing has taken off like anything now, post-COVID. So a lot of change. Okay, that is going to hit organizations positively and negatively. I'll come to the risk late. Value chain. Value chain analysis is going to be important from procurement until delivery is made. If proper value add, you are not going to add value at that place, you will be rejected. When I say you, I mean the organization. Similarly, within the organization, if you are not adding the value chain, you will be rejected. So only good people, good company, good things will happen, right? Exactly, both value chain and customers, they will decide. Customers will change. Some of the 5-star goods might go out of the market. People may change their preference. So all that has happened. And in an indirect way, it will take a year or two, and then people will start feeling how it affects my industry. I was asking somebody, will the TV technology industry be affected? Very, very simple question. Nobody has thought about it. But I got a very interesting answer when one person said, Murli, let us see, there is already production. We'll have to wait and see until those stocks are lost. Then what happens? What are the people going to think? What are the companies going to think? Example is such a simple thing like TV. Then how the industry is going to behave. Some industries will have to get folded up. Some industry will change. Some industry. Why I'm saying all these things is all the things outside may not be directly to do with people, but they will create risks. That risks will affect the organization. That will affect individuals. So you cannot say, today my company is giving me a job. Sorry. So people aspect is extremely important. We can go on and on and on, but these are all, it is impossible for all of us to discuss within 45 minutes to 1 hour, all aspects relating to people. But these are extremely important concerns which all of us will have to be aware of. So I listed out quite a lot of things, but for, I had to do a priority and then put them so that we can express it in a simple way. Having stated this, two things that is going to completely change. For example, transparency. Many of you would have seen who are working from home, a reasonable amount of transparency within the organization would have increased already. Lot of things earlier you did not know, you started knowing now. Whether through proper channel or through grapevine. Anyhow, that will get stabilized. Then overall, between organizations, with the industry, with the government, communication and transparency will play the major role. Transparency in terms of disclosures, in terms of so many things. They're working on a whole lot of blockchain technology to make transparency very obvious. Within organizations also, when people are not going to meet face by face, lot of ways transparency will undergo change. Similarly, communication, all of us know, without communication, there is no coordination. And of course, the central core, so outside to the organization, it is communication and transparency. Within the organization, to the individual, it will be 3PT, people, policy, process, technology. These are all going to be the binders. These binders will become extremely important. There could be very soon course in accountability and transparency, both in technology and in sociology and in sciences. That is the way. Already, if you go to some of these universities, look at the type of courses that are evolving. These are going to be available to us very, very, very soon, right? Having stated that, I just given a very, very broad checklist. I'll just read it out for you. So what are all going to be affected? Employment, engagement, full-time, part-time, we have discussed. Contract or output based. So earlier, only some lower level grade 4 employees were based on output. Now the seniors will also be contracted based on output. Compensation methods will change. Arrangements will change. Work from home aspects we have discussed enough. Work supervision and control will completely change. Work measurement, incentivization, performance analysis already changed. There are already people started doing research on performance analysis KPIs. Training and development, major change. Now what has done? Training and development totally outsourced. Okay, you join Udemy, finish these courses and come. You are given so much budget. Or you go to Coursera, get that certificate and come. Already started. Okay, and it reduces the cost significantly. And a standard is established. Reporting, we have discussed, that will change. Hierarchy is going to reduce. Separation, how people are sent out. Lot of legal issues, etc. will be there, but it will settle. And then most important will be frequent communication between the employee and employer. Several models are evolving. I read some spiral models, spiral in, spiral out, staircase. Lot of models are coming in on communication methods. So there's going to be gamut of changes in relation to how people are going to engage and work. So much of changes, so much of HR impact. I'm sure I've covered only a very, very small portion, but I feel that we have touched upon significant points. One very important aspect one will have to face during this transformation phase, phobias. Already a lot of the Ivy League schools have started researching and started putting up cases. Phobias, they are the dangerous things. While you are doing it, you must see that these phobias are avoided. These phobias are obvious. All of us will have these phobias at different level in the scale of 1 to 5. But we need to avoid. This has to become 0. The first phobia is technophobia. As you see on the icon, they hate technology. It's 100% mindset, because I know people who are in their 80s and 90s absolutely comfortable using technology. In my own family, I have people who are above 85, absolutely comfortable in any form of technology. Because whatever they do properly, focus, and then they learn. So please understand, you're going to have a lot of guys with technophobias, particularly older guys. When I say older guys, not older by age, okay? Older by their feeling. Otherwise, they would learn. So technophobia is one phobia that needs to be addressed. Second one, you might not have heard, but you would have experienced. Sophophobia. Sophophobia is, oh, please don't ask me to study anything. I can't learn anything new. I am already 40 years old. Oh, how long I have studied? Then you have a problem. If somebody has sophophobia, that fellow should not enter any organization. No chance. If you have to survive, you have to learn every day. So sophophobia has to be avoided. Third, paperwork phobia. Very interesting. I read some articles where there are a lot of people, they don't want to put down anything in writing. They'll not. Everything mental, mind, or anything. Why don't you send him a mail? No, I'll talk to him. Oh, send a WhatsApp so that it is on record. No, not required. No, nothing. When we say paperwork, I am not saying we need to increase the paperwork, but we need to increase the work trail. How do you record? How do you know that somebody is doing a work? So this paperwork phobia has to go off. It's called paperwork phobia. It's basically, trail. Next, control phobia. They don't want everything same. It's all related. How can you do control? What is control? I have a plan. I have to check whether everything is going as per plans. So what they do, they don't have plan at all. Everything is done as and when. Nothing. Suppose you are going for a meeting, they will not put down any points. Nothing. They'll go there and face it. Have you seen people? Please, you have to change them. With organizations, already you may have people like that. We will have to change them. I'll attempt to see how we can change them. Right. And then social phobia. This is another very interesting thing. Social phobia. Okay. You are an advocate. Very good. Are you part of any advocate group? No, sir. I know some good advocates. You are doctor. Yes. Are you, what do you do? Cardiology. Are you part of this Indian Cardiology Association membership? No, sir. I don't like, most of the time they are talking. No, I'm not asking you to go and waste your time, but are you part of it? Similarly, academicians, similarly, consultants, similarly, accountants. Are you understanding what is happening in your field? Do you know why should people come to you? You are an engineer. Are you a member of Institute of Engineers, Institute of Architects? Where are you? Do you know what is happening latest? My dear friends, I can list 20 phobias, but I found that on priority, techno, sopho, paperwork phobia, control phobia, social phobia. All of us have this. I'm not saying I don't have. I do have some of these, but maybe slightly lower on the scale. I'm trying my best to make them zero. Unless you get this phobia out, all that we discussed on human resource, how to development, they'll go completely out. So let us see how we have to catch up with this. One is we have to, as an organization, now I am shifting, individuals have this problem, we could help and find out where in a grade of 1 to 5, each of these phobias are there, and then we expose them. Second, there has to be a positive confrontation. What is positive confrontation? Boss, you are not doing this. Hey, why are you not doing this? Because of this, see all these problems, otherwise these could have been reduced, no? This could have gone, no? That person's workload could have reduced, no? Honestly, right? That's a positive confrontation. The next one is, of course, training, all of us know. And then sometimes this may be power. Somebody may be with very high power, so they have a problem, or they may be yearning for power. You don't give the power, no? So I won't. I will act as if I have got one of these phobias. That's also possible, human being. And then, of course, motivation. There are 100 ways in which you have to motivate. Our focus today is not on motivation, but motivation is a very, very important factor that we need to take into consideration. Then somebody says, boss, I tried everything. Nothing works out. Then what do you do? That is it. That person should not be there. Because what? One rotten egg, you know what happens. So you will have to think about existence. But however, understand, I am giving 3 criteria with which we need to have people who have competency, people who have skill, and people who are innovative. What do we mean by that? Competency is basically comes out of knowledge and delivery. Knowledge alone I have, no delivery. Please go home. And the person who is prepared to understand why and what of things, otherwise he cannot get knowledge. So if you are inquisitive on why and what, automatically you get your knowledge. And what is the methodology, how you go about it, is your skill. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I plan? Therefore, methodology is how to and how best. Not just how to, then you do a runaway job, but then how best. And then out of the box. Out of the box thinking is, of course, your innovation. So innovation could be doing things differently or doing different things. Whatever you do, it has to be out of the box. So you don't ask why, you ask why not. You ask why not, and you have the capability of making science into an art. Your decision making follows the scientific principle, but you do it so artistically. So we are going to need people who are with knowledge, methodology, and out of the box thinking, or competent, skill, and innovative. So these are all the type of changes we may need. Now we get into our first poll. Interesting. I never thought sophophobia will take 25%, fear of learning. Technophobia. Actually, your problem is very simple, friends, because the last three is very difficult to handle. First two, only you need proper motivation and understand that without that you cannot exist. I mean, it's just not possible to survive without that. It's only, please understand, it's only an attitude. It's a toggle in your head which you need to change. Now that we have finished, I am requesting my colleague Ashok to join. He and Pravina will take us through our colleagues, lot of success stories. And may I request Ashok to join, please?
Thanks, Dr. Murli, and welcome to all the participants. It's been really nice to have you all here the past 5 webinars. And I'm sure listening to all of us, you would have got a fair idea of what we at MaGC do, all the things that we do. But we thought it is still relevant that we speak about some of our offerings, just to give you a glimpse, and then so that you know whenever there's a requirement whom to call for. So that is a basic idea. We'll also try to look at some of the work we've done, which at least for us, it's very interesting, and I'm sure you will also find it exciting. So if you look at the offerings of MaGC, we broadly bucketed into 5 areas, 2 of which are sector specific, and another 3 areas which are cross-cutting offerings. So between me and Pravina, we'll try to cover all the 5 offerings as to what we have under each. So diving straight in, one sectoral offering is we work a lot with business entities. So what we call as our business advisory. So where we try to help businesses right from framing their strategies, their 3-year, 5-year, long-term strategies, depending on where they want to go and how to structure themselves, how to organize themselves to be able to bring out strategies which are aligned with their vision, mission, and their values. And we feel this is a dire need, particularly in the case of small and medium enterprises who might not internally have the capacity to come up with such comprehensive strategies. Another area is, of course, having strategy is not the only thing. You need to manage the risks associated with the strategies. So we help on managing the risks as well. So in having your risk management systems in place to be able to deliver on those strategies. And of course, one area being finance professionals predominantly. So we have a strong area of work where we help connect capital providers with businesses who need money. When I say connect, I mean the entire set of documentation required to be able to get on board an investor. You might call it an investor memorandum or a project report or a funding proposal or a grant proposal. So we are able to help you develop that, help businesses develop that so that and they are able to access the funding that they need to do, as well as valuation when there are mergers or takeovers, valuation of businesses, valuation of intellectual property, valuation of your assets. So a lot of the whole gamut of services under that area. So I can go on, but the idea is that I will try to get in my colleague Babu Prasad here, who is going to talk about a very interesting assignment where we help one of the largest state power financing entities migrate from traditional accounting standards which were in India to internationally benchmarked financial reporting standards. Let's listen into Babu.
Good evening. My name is R. Babu Prasad. I am working as a senior consultant in MaGC. I have around 12 years of experience and this is my 10th year with MaGC. Business advisory, governance, public financial management are my areas of expertise. I am going to share my experience in NDIS conversion assignment. This assignment was executed for an NBFC owned by Government of Tamil Nadu. Its main activities are accepting deposit from the public and providing loans to specified government entities. All NBFCs having net worth more than 500 crores were required to comply with NDIS from 1st April 2018. The client came under that category and approached us for the NDIS conversion. The assignment started with a series of discussion with the top management and the staff of NBFC to understand their functions, processes and practice. This was followed by identifying the financial transactions followed by the NBFC and classifying those financial transactions into two categories. First one, the transactions impacted by NDIS. The second one, the transaction not impacted by NDIS. Some of the important challenges we faced were applying the NDIS standards like revenue recognition, the fixed assets, the leases, financial asset and financial liabilities. A detailed note was prepared to the management in order to make them understanding the impact of NDIS conversion on their financials and also the choices to be made for the options for the accounting treatments. We prepared financial statement complying with NDIS for the financial year 18-19 and the relevant comparative figures. And we assisted the NBFC in addressing the queries of the statutory auditor as well as the AG auditor. One of the important things which we did in this assignment was to keep the auditor in the loop from the commencement. This took us the smooth ending of this assignment. At the end, we gave a clear roadmap and recommendation for this NBFC to comply with their books of accounts with the NDIS after their NDIS adoption. Thank you.
Thanks, Babu. So moving on, the other sectoral offering that a sector we closely work with is the government, where we help them on the public finance part. So not only public finance, the larger issue of governance, where basically government tries to make life a bit more easy for people like you and me. So we try to help the government do it. So what do we do there is basically we help in framing government policies, analyzing, reviewing government policies and helping them improve that. We also undertake a lot of diagnostic studies. To put it in simple words, these are studies of the financial management arrangements of the government using internationally accepted frameworks. There are 4 or 5 popular frameworks. So we have an edge in applying those frameworks and analyzing them. We also help the government in their own organization structuring and restructuring, as well as business process reengineering. So the moment I say business process reengineering, the e-governance or the electronic governance part of it also comes along. So in terms of entities, we have worked with multilateral funding agencies like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, UNDP, all the set of UN agencies, Swiss agency and all that. And governments, we work with all 3 tiers. What I mean, the national government, central government, the state government, as well as local government. So talking of local government, I'm sure all of us at some point would be wondering as to what our municipality or corporation they do with all the money. They create all the assets and then they don't know how to maintain it. So, and this is a problem across India. So what we tried to do in one of our assignments was to precisely address this problem, to be able to provide a framework by which they can take better decisions with the assets. And my colleague Deepak is there to present this case. So let's listen to him and...
Welcome to this final webinar in the CwC series. I'm Deepak, I'm an MBA graduate and I've been with MaGC as a consultant for more than 10 years. I work on government related projects, particularly in the area of public finance management. The assignment I'm going to talk about was for a Bangalore based NGO which is actively working on municipal financial reforms. As you might be aware, municipalities in India spend huge amount of money on asset creation and their maintenance. The client wanted us to develop a framework which could guide municipalities to enhance their revenues and manage their assets better. We took off this test research looking at successful model on municipal property management. We also consulted experts in this field. Using the knowledge gained, we were able to come up with a framework called the Framework for Strategic Management of Municipal Assets. This framework talks about a 7-step process which enables a municipality to develop a strategy for maximizing value from its assets. The highlight of the framework is logical approach and participation of multiple stakeholders within and outside the government in the process. With this framework in hand, we undertook a live case study on 4 properties in Puri municipality in Odisha. The case study helped show the municipal officials the benefit of using the framework and asset-related decisions. MaGC has taken several similar engagements to streamline and strengthen public financial management at the local body, state and country level. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepak. I know you and team had a interesting time on the field in the temple town of Puri. Moving on. So now let us move on to the cross-cutting offerings that MaGC does, irrespective of the sector. So it could be government, corporate, or not-for-profits. This bucket is what we call as the process advisory offering, where, I mean, all of you might have experienced that getting strategy is one thing, but getting to implement that strategy is a totally different ball game. And the change management aspects is which kick in and make it all the more difficult. So our job is basically to make it a little easier for you to implement processes on the ground using some of our proprietary tools, the 3PT tool that Dr. Murli has been talking about. We have other tools for mapping processes. So we help in putting down processes, documenting them, assessing processes, and improving processes from the perspective of improving performance, efficiency, obviously, being able to implement your strategies, and at the same time managing your risks and ensuring that there is a proper controls are exercised and are in place so that it works towards the goals of the organization. So that is where our expertise in setting up management information systems, control systems, as well as risk management system gets in. And talking of process reengineering, obviously the IT aspect of it, call it ERP or something like robotic process automation that we have been talking about. We also help businesses implement that. So, and we work with a whole range of clients, and this is where my colleague Mohanty will now come in. And it's a very interesting case.
Hello everyone, US Mohanty here. I am a senior consultant with MaGC. I am with MaGC for past 15 years. I am a graduate in mathematics and pursuing my career in finance. My focus is on business process improvements, process reengineering, and automation projects. Let me take you through the highlights of one such project I handled. The client is a leading small finance bank based in Bangalore, having several branches across India. The management was rapidly scaling business across India and simultaneously automating the business processes to improve process efficiency. This created a dire need to re-engineer and document their business processes. Through structured interviews, detailed process study in the field, and extensive document sample collection, we documented their AG's business processes. Gaps in the processes were identified using 3PT framework by brainstorming with stakeholders, and areas for re-engineering were worked out. The re-engineered process, that's a to-be process, were documented, which comprises of process flows, document flows, and guidelines and checklists and reporting pertaining to the activities. Potential areas for automation were also identified, clearly marking in the process charts. The process document was prepared applying layered approach to process mapping, that's a LAMP, an in-house tool developed at MaGC for process documentation. This exercise enabled the client management and staff to critically analyze the process gaps and take measures to address them. The revised process helped to reduce TATs significantly. The process document enabled the IT team quickly and clearly roadmap implementing CRM and core banking platform. Thank you.
Thanks, Mohanty. One very interesting point about this case study was that this particular organization, we handheld them over 3 separate phases of process maturity or growth, right from a small entity to a mid-size to become one of the largest financial institutions in the country over probably 10 or 15 years at different stages. So I'll now get in my colleague Praveena, who is going to talk about 2 other cross-cutting offerings of ours. Praveena, please.
Thanks, Ashok. So I'm going to again come to you with the T in our 3PT, which is technology. And it's quite scary that technophobia was the top of our list also, right? So we all understand and we recognize that information is an essential and key enabler of business today. There is no two way about it. And in our previous webinars on process and technology, we have also seen some live business examples and some use cases to see how technology can help businesses to cope with this current situation. However, organizations are grappling with deciding which technology is best for them and how to implement it effectively. So this is where MaGC comes in. So you can see our offering there. So we are able to support clients with both adoption of technology as well as upgrade by helping with readiness studies, implementation support, road mapping implementation, doing the audits, helping them to develop and formulate policies and guidelines surrounding ITIS, etc. So what this allows organizations to do is clients are benefiting from such external help because it allows them to focus on other matters close to controls, security, and culture. And it helps them to optimize their IT investment and get best returns out of it. Now, my colleague Srivardhan will share with you one interesting experience we had in this information technology.
Hello everybody, I am Srivardhan, a consultant working with MaGC since January 2018. My undergraduation is in commerce and I'm also a member of the ACCA. The case that I'm presenting today is that of a leading public sector undertaking that provides financial services for its customers. The client used several application software including in-house and off-the-shelf software. The management needed assurance on the quality of the information generated from the IT system and the adequacy of internal controls. MaGC was engaged to do the IT audit and compute the return on investment, the ROI of each of the applications. Audit procedures included user awareness survey, a questionnaire to the key decision makers, and application scrutiny with test data. Audit observations were classified based on their impact to timeliness, reliability, accuracy, completeness, and control of information. Observations on IT administration were classified as per confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad of information systems. Risk scoring was applied, and the software were ranked based on the associated risk. A framework for computation of ROI was developed after studying several internationally accepted methods. The ROI was computed software-wise as well as for the whole organization. Inferences based on ROI were drawn and included in the report. This audit report was well received and appreciated by the audit committee. The client was able to use MaGC's recommendations to negotiate for better service levels from vendors, plan further in-house projects, and strengthen their information security. MaGC performs IT audits which provide assurance on general controls and information security. Thank you.
Thanks, Srivardhan. So moving on, so we come to our final offering, which is basically around people. So we cannot ignore this. Clearly, in this situation, it has demonstrated to us that businesses that are agile and that are adaptive are the ones that are able to sustain and succeed. So definitely training and research are very essential ingredients for this. While business research provides us with the adequate understanding on what are the changes that are happening and its impact on our business, looking at it both internally and externally. What training helps us with is to bridge the gap in terms of knowledge and skill that such changes bring about. So our motto is consulting for implementation. So we have all our engagements typically have a knowledge transfer and a training component. But apart from this, we have developed training and research methods which suit to the needs of private, public, and not-for-profit clients. So we have Also, this additional benefit that many of our consultants are actually handling ACCA classes in our platinum accredited center ANSA, which you can see the logo scrolling there. So this both together has really helped us to service in this area. Now Keshav is with us to share one experience in this domain.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keshav Muralidharan. I've been working with MaGC since June 2018, having completed the ACCA qualification and Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Finance. Let me take you through an interesting assignment we recently completed. This client is one of the largest British general merchandise retailer, and they have a back-end accounting office set up in Bengaluru, India. They wish to strengthen this back-end office by conducting training to their employees in the area of International Financial Reporting Standards or IFRS, which was applicable to the entity. We were engaged by the client to develop the detailed syllabus suited to the varied knowledge levels of the staff, prepare the training materials as well as assessment tools for the training. We were able to narrow down the syllabus to 12 key areas, and we prepared presentation slides for each of them, which included easily understandable examples, specific practical application in the client's business, and appropriate references to the client's ERP system. We even developed a post-training practice question bank which consisted of 150 questions. This question bank was used by the client to assess their trainees into one of three buckets: understanding level, skill level, and expert level. The feedback from client was very positive, and they appreciated the use of simple and easily understandable language as well as the self-explanatory nature of the material. In all, the client was very happy with our output. With extensive consulting experience and strong academic understanding, MaGC is uniquely positioned to give clients customized training programs. We even regularly conduct training in the areas of auditees, finance for non-financial individuals, financial analysis, and so on. It is really good to have all of you here with us. Looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Keshav. So it is now that time where we have interactions with you.
Interesting to see that the changes are required in marketing. Oh, very interesting.
Very interesting.
Nice. And key learning from the crisis: be agile and open to change. Nandi, that's the reason why we put it first. Okay, friends, now we will move on because I will give a summary and conclusion of how whatever we have learned so far, we need to converge everything for success. So next 5 minutes, I will give you what is the way. So we saw that we looked at 3PT. We know that these are all the 4 areas where we need to address. And when we tried to do this, we came across what I called as this capital. This capital means, I'm sure all of you know what capital means. Capital is that enables you to earn revenue and also be sustainable. Any capital is that which enables you to earn revenue. If you are educated, that enables you to earn revenue. If you invest in a place and give it for rent, it enables you to earn revenue. So this, capital. Now, therefore, the way things are changing, today what they do, they find out, a chemist finds out a good formula and then does his intellectual property registration, and that becomes his capital. People like us who are professionals, for us, whatever our education and experience becomes the capital. So money is not the only capital. Now what is happening? You have education, you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of money, you have a lot of infrastructure. In days to come, my dear friends, that is not going to be sufficient, because we have lost the most important thing, which you have called it as this capital, which is trust, honesty, integrity, simplicity. If only all our corporates and governments had these today, we'll be living in a world of joy. Therefore, I tried to map this. Trust is directly, the policy will be related to trust. The policy the trust is also related to people. Honesty, you must have honesty in policy, you must have honesty in people, and you must have honesty in your process, otherwise you can commit fraud, right? Integrity, first integrity with people, integrity with technology, otherwise you know what, people could hack you. So there has to be integrity there, and of course integrity, and of course when you come to simplicity, the process will have to be very, very simple for anybody to understand. Most of the process where which is complicated, it will not stand the test of time. And of course the policy has to be very simple, and technology has to be simple. So you find that only when you invest in this capital will you get the best of your 3PT. And therefore what happens? We will be able to do what we are good at. We will be able to do things not just for money alone, because we have values, we have honesty, we have integrity. We just don't do for money alone. Money is important. If you think money is the output and you work for it, then there is something wrong. You work for something very good. Money is, so you work for an outcome. Money is one of the outputs we will get. So therefore, we do things not for money alone. That automatically comes of honesty and integrity. Then we do things, nothing that affects people. We never do anything that will affect people. These are all the values that come out of your good 3PT and this capital. And more importantly, at the highest level of existence, there is no difference between us and our work. Your work itself shows the quality. I repeat, I always give this example. You listen to the music, you know it is Ilayaraja or A.R. Rahman. I mean, there is no difference between them and that music. Beethoven, it is Beethoven, right? So therefore, this is what we call as professional values, ethical values, human values, and spiritual values. And these values, when organization is run, it is called values-based management. Please take for granted, in days to come, if we are not going to have values-based management, you will not be able to integrate all these things. So if you want to get everything into convergence, then definitely 3PT, VSBM, and this will have to go together. Though it can evolve today during COVID as short-term strategy, they will move into long-term, making certain adjustments. But the seeds you will be sowing now, because the change I don't think any nearest time in the future we are going to see an outside without mask. 10 years ago, I used to see in Japan, people wherever you go, they used to wear mask. Because SARS, post-SARS, they established standards. So that's going to change. This is the lesson for us. Therefore, what does the wisdom boss do? He works with his heart and not just with his brain. Or rather, I would say he works with his heart also, not with brain. Only people with heart can understand all these things, right? And therefore, he is able to bring an aligned team. Now, let me do a complete 5-week summary of the whole thing, starting from the COVID hitting us, making the organization stressed, and the wisdom boss understands that he has to work. He understands that workplace, workflow, work culture change. To bring the team in alignment, he has to have clarity, change, and he has to get the required cash flows. So he understands that he has to use 3PT technology. Therefore, he goes to policy, makes policy changes, understanding policy impact analysis, goes to process and makes the proximity analysis, process change metrics, and understands the process. Then he understands for that the key factors are proper SOPs, knowledge, know-how, technology, monitoring, and learning curve. And then he has to handle technology, he does the technology impact assessment, for which he has to have clarity, simplicity, agility, consultative approach, and project management. And then he understands that he has to handle people, and when he handles people, he has to understand internal and external aspects, which we saw today, the organization structure itself, individual, organizational and external aspects and phobias need to be handled, for which you have to handle physical health, mental health, attitude, connect and adjustments. And therefore he has to invest in this capital. He has no other choice, and he has to move towards values based management. Summarizing this, the entire concept where he uses 3PT, this capital, VSBM become the base for a convergence, and this convergence is really the convergence for success. I have tried my best to bring in all the 5 weeks discussion into one place, and therefore I join the Wisdom Boss and his aligned team to thank all of you for being with us all these years. Hopefully all these 5 weeks, I request you not to leave now, because another 5 minutes we will finish the whole program. Having stayed for 5 weeks, stay for 5 more minutes. Now I hand over to Suresh for the question session.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Murli. Hats off to you to have summarized the 5 weeks in probably one slide. I don't know how you managed it. Anyway, we have few questions to be handled. I thought let us take at least 2 of them for want of time. There are a lot of challenges because of COVID, the impact of COVID. But what is felt as a major challenge is how to keep people motivated during and after COVID times. What is your take on that?
I think this question can go on and on, but actually I wanted to cover one slide on, that's what I told you in motivation. I think I will use those points. One is, you have to have a face-to-face engagement. Thanks to technology we can do. Face-to-face engagement has to be there to understand the language of people. So staying in touch becomes the key for motivating people. Otherwise you don't meet your people for a long time, there is no motivation. So staying in touch, recognizing and rewards, encouraging, counseling. Counseling means talking to them on matters which is concerning them. It need not concern work. That is important. And seeing that regularly you put them on professional development. My suggestion will be 7.5 to 10% of their time you plan and give it for their development in terms of learning new things. Embed it, because that 7.5 to 10% part of you convert it in money terms, it will be insignificant to the contribution they'll be making, because they will get motivated and that will get converted into contribution because you're not. And I was reading some article where somebody had suggested, based on research, they say, think ahead, think back, think deep, think across, think growth, think well-being, and think now. They said these 7 are the way the people get motivated. What it means, you should be able to make them think ahead. You should be able to make them think back. You should be able to make them think deep. That is why we said motivate them through knowledge. Think across, so you connect them with other people. Think growth, so you motivate them saying that giving so much growth, you are going to get so much of benefits. And then think well-being, take care of them, counsel them, send them for annual medical checkup and all that. And think now, please, all this motivation, don't postpone. So creating a sense of belonging, making collaboration, rewarding good work, showing employees that they are very important and they are meaningfully contributing, and give them freedom, because we are going to remove all the levels that we have been traditionally used to. I think these are all some of the ways by which you can handle the motivation. Anything else?
Thanks a lot, Dr. Murli. For want of time, we'll just take one more question. Yes, you have touched upon this topic a little bit in the presentation. Training and development, according to us will undergo a major change. How do you see this capacity building happening post-COVID?
Post-COVID, online training, there's no other option. There'll be huge number of companies offering a lot of things, but you guys have to be careful and see who is the right guy. So that is one. Online training is almost, except that where skills are required, physical skills are required, but in general, online training. So you can pay for certification, which is not at all very costly. Then there should be attempt to make people multiple skill. People with multiple skills will be required. So focus on multiple skills. So what are all the areas you can touch? You can touch technology, collaboration, communication, team working, documentation. And when you do it, don't think of this year, oh, if I give this will not be useful for him. No, because you have to think for next few years. But I would love to close this with saying, if you want to make a general improvement, please ask them to join good yoga and meditation sessions. Yoga and meditation session will help in complete transformation of the person over a period of time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Mulli. I now request my colleague Devani to give the vote of thanks. Yeah, Devani, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you all for continued support and enthusiastic participation. People are a key resource, and this crisis has reiterated how people are the invisible cling holding organizations together. We hope this session has helped you grasp some approaches in dealing with people-related issues and how this links to the policy, process, and technology aspects. This webinar brings the Coping with COVID-19 CwC series to a close. Since this crisis has no precedent, no one can claim expertise in handling it. However, through this webinar, we aim to share some insights on how to approach the crisis and trigger ideas in your minds. This journey has been a tremendous learning experience for us at MaGC, especially in collaborating using technology. Many of you have been with us from the start of the series in May 20. You have encouraged us both during the session and offline through messages and emails. Thanks for encouragement and support. We have been using your valuable feedback to fine-tune the webinars and refine our delivery throughout the series. The recordings of the CwC series is available in our YouTube channel. This webinar recording will also be uploaded shortly. Be assured we'll be reaching out to you with more content. Follow our social media handles to receive regular updates. And please leave any detailed comments and suggestions in the chat window. You can also write to us at enquiries@magc.in. The email ID will be displayed in the next stream. Yeah, the email ID is on the screen, so please write to us. Thanks once again for your valuable time.